Stretch of the conference, and anytime that I am running a conference or a retreat or an offsite, the first couple hours are really tough because people are still arriving and their head is, not present. Now, at this point in the conference, you're starting to go backwards. Like your head is about, when's my flight? Are the kids? Am I going to get home? What am I having for dinner? And in fact, even our panelists, we were all convincing about those things. But when you're doing that, you're not present. So I invite you to take this time. You're here. You made the commitment. You have, 1 hour session here. You may have a few other things after this, but don't shortchange yourself because you're thinking about, what's to come, if you can at all do that. All right, so as you know, several of you have been, or most of you have been with us through the week. We've been marching through the customer journey. You can't touch everything in the journey. We'd have to be here for like a million hours. But we've touched upon a lot of different topics, and this last topic is really interesting because it actually is about bringing it all together and stringing it together from a customer perspective. So it's a little bit of a culmination of the week as we try to pull all of these pieces together. So the title of the session is Seamless Financed Digital Home Buying and Owning Experience, because part of why we would do this is the customer experience, which is goodness, that's awesome. Part of it is the financial ramifications and the financial opportunities that we have. So we want to kind of think with both perspectives. So everyone loves great sex. Wow, I had your undivided attention for like 2 seconds. And then the rest of you dove back in your phone. You're like, yeah, whatever, I don't know. But what I mean is customer experience, so CEX, right? Everybody loves great customer experience. We are all customers and we are providers to customers. But when we are customers, we are prima donnas and we want to be treated really well and we want it to be all about us. So the customer experience is so vital. And it's kind of interesting, my whole career has been in and around the customer. Every time I kind of venture into a role that wasn't like right in the thick of things with the customer action, I just really got super bored. So I just love the drama of customers, the good and the bad. And it used to be the people that kind of maybe were in marketing or customer service or sales. We were tasked with worrying about the customer, right? That was kind of our job, to kind of make up for the sins of the entire organization and on the front lines make it look as good as possible. But times have really changed, and what you started to see is that the executive team and boards and CEOs really care about great sex because it has such a huge ramification on our bottom line. It has become extremely important. So no longer is it relegated to those people on the front line. It's really core to our brand and core to how we deliver our products and solutions. You can have the most amazing product on the planet. If you do a really crummy job delivering it, you just blew it, right? And they will go elsewhere and they will pay more for a better experience. And when I say they, that's us, right? That's what we do in our everyday lives with brands that we interact with. And as we start to look at the customer journey, and we've gotten kind of super fancy in our industry, which is great. We're all customer journey mapping, and we know that that's putting ourselves in our customers' shoes and understanding what they go through, not our process, but what they go through. And we map it all out, and it looks so neat and tidy, right? Like this is gonna be easy. The challenge is that we map that all out, but the customers don't follow instructions, right? They're all over the place. They come in over here, they come out over here. In our industry, they may come out for 6 months and then they pop back up over somewhere else, right? So it's pretty complicated. So we've got to kind of design tools and systems that really relate to them and accommodate them wherever they're meandering through their journey. So this group, I have to give them a lot of credit because they have some vision, and it's really intriguing in terms of what they're looking at. So one, they're taking the new home purchase perspective from kind of our traditional milestones, which again is kind of looking at it from our lens, our builder lens, and they flipped it around and they're talking about the buyer experience. So to us, this is a lead, but to the customer at that point in the journey, they're shopping, right? So we have to look at what they're going through, not what we're going through. And then similarly, they move in construction to close, they move into ownership. Now we've greatly simplified because we only have about 45 minutes here, and we've kept it very high level. Obviously, there are a lot of pieces underneath this. So they have put together a way that you can create a customer journey experience that takes them through this process, that holds their hand through this process. So they are painting a picture of what can be. And some of these things exist today, and the integrations exist today. It's awesome. Some they're working on. Some you probably are going to want to craft your own journey. So it would be impossible for us to kind of string that all together and go, here, that's perfect for you, right? So you're going to create your own journey, and you're going to pick those tools that make sense as you go through that journey. But I think it's important to have the vision of what are you trying to do? Like, what are we trying to go for? Then we can figure out the how, and that may happen by builder. So we have assembled a cast of characters here, and most of these folks are really well known. Monica certainly has been in the industry for a very long time, and VP of Customer Success at ECI, but many other roles in the industry, as well as, like, I looked you up, Deloitte, you were over at Deloitte, you're a consultant. I was like, there's a different twist there. But, so Monica is the person that you interact with if you're working with ECI solutions and tools. And then Travis, who was one of our keynote speakers this week and enlightened us on leadership and how we can up our game on that. But Travis has been in the mortgage industry forever. I don't know if it's since birth, but perhaps.
It's almost 25 years.
Yeah,
we'll call it 25 years.
I can see you kind of on the preschool, playground, going, hey, you want a mortgage? But he's been in various mortgage companies over the years, and now is the COO of FBC Mortgage. And they've done some really exciting things on the app front. And then Allie is from Wayfair, and she is the enterprise account manager working in the building industry, so starting to work with builders. And if you hadn't thought of it before, you'll think of it as we go through today. What a wonderful upsell opportunity for your buyers. Because again, if you put yourself in their shoes, they're not just thinking about the house, they're thinking about the stuff they're gonna put in the house and the furnishings and all of these things. And that is a huge revenue opportunity. So Allie's gonna talk to us a little bit about that. And then last but not least, I have Derek, and he has been in the industry for quite some time. You might have seen him at OfferPad, at Open Door, and now he's the co-founder and CCO at Foundation, and they have an amazing customer experience app. So we've got the right players today that pulled together kind of this vision for you all so that you can take your first steps. So given that, I'm going to pass this down. And we're going to do just a quick intro of the company so that you have some context before we go into our vision piece. So take it away.
Thank you, Melissa, and thank you to the panelists. This was a really good exercise going through all of this, putting everything together, and it was really fun to kind of see what is possible now, what could be possible in the future, and what things builders should really be considering as they're looking to enhance their customer experience. And so I really appreciate you putting this all together for us. This is a very complicated slide, but I just wanted to give a brief, and I won't spend too much time on this, brief introduction of what ECI is. So ECI is a software company. We operate in the home building industry, but also several other industries. We own 9 different products. We're very happy to announce today that we also added Avid Ratings to our group of products. So we're excited about that. Thank you.
Awesome.
But what this slide is really showing you here is that there's home builders at the top and home buyers at the bottom. And as you walk through the home builder process, you can see the different steps that builders make when they're working with customers and getting their homes built and getting out to warranty. And then the home buyer process along the bottom and the steps that the buyer takes. And in the middle, you'll see all of our products, and they are sort of color-coded there. And again, it's very complex, but it'll show you how each of the different products touch each of the different pieces of the home buying and building process. And so Mark Systems is a ERP solution for basically mid-sized builders. LotView is a land management tool. It's also interactive site maps on your website. And we'll go through these in more detail later, but Insearch is an online sales and design center tool. Lasso is the industry-specific CRM. It's one of the leading ones in the industry. And then Bolt is also a newer product, and we're not going to touch on that today, but I just wanted to share with you that Bolt is a tool for trade contractors so that they can manage their business more effectively so they can service builders better. And so this all kind of ties in together. And so just a little bit about ECI, and if you have any questions about any of our specific products or anything else, then let me know. Oh, and of course, hopefully you guys know what Avid Ratings does. They do the customer surveys and warranty management things. So I'll pass this to you.
Yeah, or you can keep it, Travis.
Okay.
So I'm Derek Schairer with Foundation, and Foundation is, simply put, like a lot of companies up here, we do a lot, but simply put, we're a buyer experience platform for home builders. And really what we set out to do is help builders sell more homes more efficiently to happier buyers. And what does that mean? So we actually help buyers from contract to close hold their hand through their process to make them happier and increase builder team efficiency. We then help owners own, operate, and manage their new construction home, and so they have a better experience while doing that, and helping builders generate referrals, repeat purchases, and ongoing revenue. So that's a lot. You're going to see some of that today. You're not going to see all of it today. We're what we call a compound product. To put it very simply, what we are at its core is we are a buyer portal, an owner portal, and a white labeled builder app all wrapped into one product. So that's how you can think of Foundation.
Great.
So FBC Mortgage, top 20 lender. As I mentioned the other night, we're more than a mortgage company. We have an obsession over the builder space. We work with 140 builders nationwide, and I don't think you'll find another mortgage company more obsessed with trying to add value proposition to a home builder above and beyond a mortgage. Any mortgage company can make a mortgage. We have 1 million products. We have incredible customer satisfaction ratings, but finding value to add above and beyond the mortgage for you and your operation is something that keeps us up at night, and it's pretty cool what we're doing.
Awesome. And Wayfair Professional. So most of you probably know what Wayfair.com is as a consumer yourself. I'm here representing Wayfair Professional. We are the B2B business within Wayfair. Same access to the same catalogs, but we have trade programs set up, and we work with 20,000 suppliers, 30 million products to be able to pull together, everything from your model homes to amenity spaces. We work a lot in the multifamily space and hospitality, office furniture. Actually, all of these stages are equipped with Wayfair furniture as well. So that's kind of where Wayfair comes from. We've partnered with a lot of our home builders, and kind of as we work into this experience that we're going to walk you through here on thinking one step further. So we all have model homes. We all have consumers that walk into the model homes. 70% of them are probably not actually purchasing said models, but they see furniture, and you don't want your sales reps talking about furniture. You want them talking about the home, and the consumers are going to be flipping over the couch cushions and trying to find brand names and stuff. And so we work with builders to try to make those model homes shoppable through multiple different ways. We can do it online, we can do it through QR codes, we can do it through a couple different things. So those are some of the fun things that we're getting into on the Wayfair side, tying home builders back to servicing their consumers on the Wayfair side as well.
All right, time to dive in.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the shopping experience. And so basically, just kind of following the buyer's journey. What does a buyer really try to do, and where do they start with their journey? A lot of times they'll start on the internet, where they used to come into the model, and that was really how they became familiar with your homes and your offerings. They're now starting online, and a lot of times they won't even come into the model until they're ready to actually start seriously talking about selling. And so it's very important for builders to have experiences online that they can offer to engage the buyer online and get them enough information so that they do come in and look at what you're offering. So we're going to walk through the select process where they can look online and select a lot, an elevation, and a plan. We're also then going to look at, once they've decided what they want to purchase and they've made an agreement, then they have to go through the design phase. We'll look at an online design center, and we'll tie in how you can look at maybe furniture and adding that into that experience. And then, obviously you can't buy a home without financing, and it would be really great if we can integrate the financing from the beginning. So when the buyer is looking at your homes, they need to know what they're going to be able to afford. And wouldn't that be nice if you could do some pre-qualification and then use those numbers as they're building out the house so that they know what their limits are as they're choosing options and doing selections and things like that. And so that's kind of where we're going today. So first I want to start out with this, and this is our Insearch product, but what you'll see is an example from Esperanza Homes, where they have a nice website set up here where they've got this interactive floor plan. So the buyer can actually go in, and this is hooked up to their ERP, so that's live real-time data. They can go in and select the lot, find out what's available, and then choose the lot, find out what plans can be built on that lot, and then come in here and start playing around with the home and decide, what kind of enhancements do they want to make on the home. Really getting this buyer deeply engaged and selling themselves on this whole experience and this home that they're going to buy in your community. What's really interesting too is having these types of tools and things on your website. It also allows out-of-town buyers to be able to come in and start looking at your home. So when we look at the site maps for where are people who are clicking on these tools for certain builders, we'll find that they're actually several states away, and they're there playing around because they're moving from out of state. So this allows you to provide that experience. This map, real quick, also is tied to Google Maps. So it's not just about the house and the lot, it's also about where are you located. And so you can actually go into Google Maps and find out where are all the churches, where's the closest shopping center, those kinds of things. Again, allowing your buyer to see themselves in your community and engage with the community around them and really see themselves living there. Configurators are another great way to do it. So once they find the house, they fall in love with the floor plan, you can put a configurator. And again, getting the buyers engaged, they can play around with some basic things in the kitchen, changing colors, picking cabinets and things like that. And I believe the prices are on there as well. And that's a good point to consider as a builder. I know we don't like to share prices a lot on our website, especially on our transparent website that's out there for everybody to see. But the thing is that buyers know what they can afford and what they can't afford, right? And if you're not transparent with the pricing, then they are building a dream home that they can't afford to live in. So it's better for them to qualify and to try to figure out what they value before they come in and really talk with you. And this is just another option of engagement where you're, again, bringing the buyer in. Virtual tours are great for allowing them to walk through the home, kind of see what the layout is. Again, letting them picture where are they going to have their dinners, what happens when their friends come over, where are they going to have their parties and things like that, and what do their rooms look like. So when you can provide these types of engaging tools on the website, again, you bring that buyer further down the funnel. This is an interesting one. So we saw the floor plan there, but tying in the mortgage, wouldn't it be great if not only do you have all this engagement going on, but then they can qualify themselves as far as their purchase is concerned. So we have this mortgage calculator in there where they can actually type in what they can afford for the home. Maybe they can afford $350,000, $500,000. I guess it's probably about $1 million now, right, with the way prices are going up. But and then the interest rate, which used to be 3.5, but now it's like 22% or something. I don't know. Anyway, but they can come in here and then type in some numbers there to kind of see what they can afford. And as they're making the selections for the different rooms, not only are they seeing the cost of the room, but then it shows you what the impact is on the mortgage. And that's really cool. What I think is great about this panel and what we're doing here today is that's fun, right? But that's not a real mortgage. That's not real money they're paying with. That's still their dream. What if we could integrate FBC mortgage or some sort of mortgage capability there where the buyer not only can click on there and put in their numbers, but they can go click on the FBC mortgage and then it takes them to another experience. So do you want to talk a little bit about that? There you go.
Yeah, so when we think about this idea, imagine sitting there sipping a glass of wine where you could shop for a home and also get qualified before your wine glass is completely empty. And that's exactly what I think can happen and will happen. You know, as we think about our staff today, we think in the sense of how many employees do we have to get a job done, and we think about the full-time employees on our payroll. I think that philosophically, a slightly different angle is you have to think about employing your customers intelligently to work for you. And you have to think of your technology, your stack, as part of your employee base. We talk about technology as this cold software, maybe even hardware, but I think you have to, if you think about it from a human touch and how it interacts with your customers, it does things that your employee staff can't do. So to Monica's point, imagine that continuation of that wine glass. I found my home, I found my layout, I've designed it, I'm ready to go. Clicking a button, both mobile or on web, and intuitively, in a very short period of time, qualifying for a mortgage. And we've actually, behind the scenes, we've embedded AI, OCR, et cetera, to render verified approvals within a matter of moments. So there's literally a scenario in that wine glass where they've uploaded documentation. It's gone through our fully verified automated underwriting system and given a conditional approval, which in most mortgage companies, that's a human experience, and they're able to track that all from their phone. So there's no disconnect between Monica's experience to mine a day later or 2 days later. The borrower is interested in buying a home. The borrower is sipping that glass of wine. The borrower is now pre-approved and conditionally approved, and just filling out a few items. And they can do it from their phone. They can upload photos right there from their mobile app, which was white labeled for whatever builder we end up with, can take it all the way to the finish line within a matter of days. So it's very exciting. I think the potential is there. It seems daunting, and I know a lot of people in this room, and I heard a gentleman say yesterday, what's the pain for the ROI? And I think that it's my best advice is to make sure that you're partnering with people that have the capability and the flexibility and adaptability to work for you. And I think a lot of people think of it, if I bring on tech, I got to do all the hard work. Get your vendors to work for you and make sure they're able to work for you and they can play nice in the sandbox. If you can do that, you can create an experience like this to get employees and your technology working for you. Oh, by the way, we do have a B2B portal as well too, so the builders can actually see real time from their phone what's going on with their loans. So from a backlog perspective, which many of you have probably been on backlog calls, they can be painful. What's going on 123 Main Street? It's good. Well, you can also see that from an app, so pretty neat.
Yeah, and I think that's so great too, because now it's real, right? Now you not only have engaged the buyer, made them fall in love with their house, now it's like all of a sudden they're approved for the mortgage and now they're on the road to buying your house. And so that's a great experience, so they can come back in here now, and instead of the numbers they populate, it's the real numbers of what they can afford, and then they can start playing around with that. So after they make that sort of commitment, obviously they'll have to go in and talk to you at some point, right, to commit and to sign on the agreement and things. But once they get to the point where they're going to buy the home, they have to actually go in and design it. And this is where Wayfair can come in, which is really cool, because as Ali was saying before, what happens a lot of times is people will come into the model and they'll just tour the model and they really like the furniture in there and all of that, but there's no way for them to buy it or to understand where to get it. But that's what they want when they move into one of your houses. And what would it be like if you could actually offer the curated model within your design center? So they can come in here, and as they're making selections, they can come and they'll find these little cards in here, and I think, let me see, I highlighted them, this is in the great room. So you can so the way that the design center is set up is you can set it up by room, or you can set it up by item. So you can have like a furniture section, or you can have in each of these rooms, there are different furniture. And so if you go into the great room, you will see that this is the furniture that was in the great room, and the buyer can actually select these and put these in their basket and on their wish list for when they want to purchase the home. And so there's an arrangement that Wayfair can do, and I think Ali will talk a little bit more about that, how do you arrange to get this or these pieces to the buyer after close. But the other cool thing is on the financing that you have a capability of being able to monitor the financing. Did you want to talk a little bit? Oh, actually, should I go to Ali and then you can talk about that?
Sure, we can go to
first?
that later. That's a fun topic.
Do you want
No, go for it.
You
first
first,
on how
and
to
then,
pay
yeah.
for it? Okay.
You first.
So I took a little piece of this, zooming in. Let's say there's certain bedrooms within the models itself, and then the bottom picture is actually a screenshot of one of our just design proposals of the prior image of what it looks like prior to us putting it into the home. But for the sake of this conversation, assume that is a website page that would be set up pretend that moves. So the items that actually exist in the phone, you could have it be a pop-out experience where it goes to a Wayfair app and the consumer app where they go there, or it would build right into an ECI type platform where they could have those things bookmarked. The other piece that we're able to do with the home buyers is connect them with, let's say they love the model home that you have itself, connect them with a designer so that everyone in the community doesn't end up buying the same exact furniture in the model home, be able to know the certain size and pieces that will fit in the home, and engineer something that would be, or design something that would be similar sizes, similar pieces for the aesthetic that family might be looking for. Pops back into.
So yeah, and so this is just to kind of put a period on the end of that. So the buyer comes in, and then we'll go back to Travis on the really cool thing he can do with financing. But the buyer just comes in and they make all of their selections, and then they're ready to build. And the cool thing about ECI is this is tied to the Mark Systems platform, and so once the buyer builds their wish sheet and the build sheet, then it gets pushed into an addendum and into the ERP, so you can build your house, which is really, really, really cool. But
Yeah. So to add to this, the common feedback, or what loan officers tell customers, and I would imagine that most everyone in this room has been advised of this: don't go out and get new debt during the mortgage process. You will blow the whole thing up. And so when you look at this opportunity here, most consumers, I would, if I was decorating, I would want to move into a home with all of the stuff there already, and not wait 2-3 weeks for boxes to show up my front door. We've built a way to contemplate new debt through these, or consumer debt through these types of acquisitions, these types of purchases. So set that aside for a second. During the mortgage process, your mortgage company, as well as I do, we're required to monitor you as you go through the entire mortgage process, and we get alerted when there is new debt that has been undisclosed. That is very common within the mortgage process. So if you know of anybody that got a call from their loan officer and they found out about a car they purchased, and you're like, how did you know about that? Well, there's products out there where we monitor new debt that was undisclosed prior to that. So we know that this exists already, and so it's almost like rather than being reactive, why don't we be proactive, right? And say, hey, look, if you go to these terms, and this is the terms of your credit card, to acquire these things, we can embed that, and what we did was embed that into the pre-qualification up front. So the borrower chose to do so. So it gives the consumer an opportunity to make these types of purchases if they have the borrowing capacity to do so. And us then monitor what that impact would be on qualification as well as potential credit score impact. So very complex. It is a new idea that we built internally. It's still early. I know, I appreciate you bringing it up, but this is the type of value proposition I'm talking about earlier. How can we do above and beyond just a mortgage? How can we help these additional sales happen in your model homes and not blow up the mortgage process? And so we're constantly thinking of new ways to do what traditional mortgage companies do across this country. And that's a great example.
cool. Yeah, so now that you've got your home built, designed, and well, you've signed the contract. Now you have to manage the customer through the build process, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's where foundation comes in.
Absolutely. Well said, Monica, and great job, guys. And that is where foundation steps in. So foundation steps in as soon as a customer signs a contract. And really, what the job of foundation at that time is to hold the buyer's hand from contract through closing. And I think a big part of a seamless buyer experience here is great communication, great collaboration, and a smooth close for the customer. These are all things that lead to a great customer experience, and foundation is the platform that facilitates all of this. And I think when you take a step back, what you're about to see, I don't think is going to be any surprise for you in 2024, but essentially what we do is we take the thousands of emails, text messages, phone calls, and site visits that it takes today to get a customer closed, and puts that into one singular modern consumer package, right? And so that's essentially what foundation is doing at this time. And so we call this part of the experience our digital closing concierge. And again, the goal is to hold the buyer's hand to deliver a happier buyer, increase customer satisfaction scores, but also drive efficiency to builders' bottom lines by doing this. And like I said, one of the best ways to do that is through great seamless communication. And so this is a white labeled app. If you are ABC Builders, the customer is interacting with the ABC Builder brand. They're going to the iOS and Android app stores to download the ABC Builders app. And what we're doing is giving them information directly at their fingertips. So on self-service basis. So what's the information? Who's my point of contacts? We give them the construction milestones so they can educate themselves on the process, reduce site visits, reduce anxiety and stress, because for a lot of these buyers, it's their first time purchasing a new construction home. We give them a social media style update feed so they can digest information in ways that they're used to doing it today. And I think that's a big piece of great communication, is meeting buyers where they're at, regardless of platform, regardless of communication style. And so one of the ways we've modernized that a bit is in this update feed, where builders can drop videos, updates, photos, and all of these are wrapped in beautiful branded emails and push notifications from their app. And then we also have this concept of action items. These are tasks and events that the buyer needs to do to ensure that they have a smooth, clean closing. Again, we're educating them. We're telling them when they have to do things and where they have to be proactively, so your teams don't have to go out and do this and send 3, 4, 5 follow-up emails, right? So we're giving them all of this self-serve information right at their fingertips. The other big piece here, I think, is collaboration. And at the top of this screen here on the right of this GIF, you'll see a rendering of a home. And so we're agnostic to what other vendors a builder uses, but we are all about collaboration. And so a great example is like Monica at ECI up here. When you see that rendering, we can pull in all the work that customer just did with ECI into the rendering, into floor plans, into walkthroughs, 3D tours, videos, all of that. Again, to meet them where they're at, which is right at their fingertips. We can also work with companies like Travis and FBC to manage the mortgage process right there in the app to help them with action items, due dates, documents, etc. Or we can actually kick it out to Travis on his own site as well. Again, we're agnostic. We're just trying to facilitate the best customer experience we can. And then once a customer closes, this actually rolls into ownership, as you all know. And so the whole goal of ownership, again, is to create more efficient teams and give buyers and meet buyers where they're at today. And I think the industry has historically thought about ownership as a cost center. In Foundation, we're actually flipping that on its head and turning it into a profit center, which I think is something that's really unique and really interesting to what we're doing. And I think a great ownership experience starts with great customer care, but making sure that's streamlined for both the buyers and your teams. And then generating referrals and repeat purchases. Builders spend a lot of money to acquire customers. Don't pay full boat to reacquire that customer the next time they're ready to buy a home or go shopping. And then turn past buyers into ongoing revenue. And we do this through what we call our ownership experience. And again, the whole goal is to turn homeowners into assets and streamline operations to generate a profit center. This is the same app, same product for your buyer. They don't know any different. Just once they close on the home, it automatically transitions over into this ownership experience state. And so when we think about the ownership experience, some of the pieces here are, again, around education and self-service. Let's give those buyers the maintenance schedule, the action items, the things they need to do to maintain that home proactively, so you're not getting a call and sending out a truck to change an air filter, right? Because this is a first-time home buyer or something of that nature. Also, let's give them what they would expect in 2024. We all know the items that go into that home. They just spent a bunch of time with ECI selecting those items. Let's give them those home details at their fingertips. Things like paint, things like their appliances, all of those items that they might call you about when they have questions. Let's give it to them in a self-service format to reduce those warranty calls. We know today 20 to 30% of all warranty requests aren't warranty-related items. They're things that questions a buyer has, like paint color, like where do I get my water filter? And so we give all of them at their fingertips. And then the last piece, we help them register their appliances. Again, this is something that most builders don't warranty themselves, so we help them do that right in the app to cut down calls, streamline operations for your builder and your customer care right there in the app. The second piece of this, coming back to that first slide, is referrals and repeat purchases. So what Foundation does on behalf of the builder is we re-engage and retarget your past buyers in service of generating referrals, repeat purchases. And so we'll actually not only take your buyers on a go-forward basis, we'll download the last 5 to 7 years of buyers, put them in the system, get them on the app, so you can start to drive these at scale. And so when we think of referrals and repeat purchases, when they're ready to shop, when they have that next life event, which we have all the data and information on, it should be your brand, your builder brand front and center, and your partners. So that way we know your partners will refer them back to you as well. So let's re-engage them at those right times and right moments throughout their ownership life cycle so that they come back to your brand and your partners when they're ready to make that next change or that next move. I think some examples that you can think of here are not only just buying a new home, but selling their existing home, a HELOC, refi, all of those things at these big life moments and life stages, the builder should be a part of and be able to capitalize on. And I think that leads to the last piece here, which is helping builders turn ownership into a profit center by generating ongoing revenue. Mortgage companies, insurance companies, all of these businesses want access to builder customers and are willing to pay for it and willing to be good partners with you. The other side of this is retailers like Wayfair. And so these types of companies also want access to your buyers at the right time. And by doing that, we can Foundation actually curates marketplaces for the builder. The builder has full editorial control, so then they pick and choose who they want in there. But then we set up a marketplace to generate ongoing revenue for as long as that customer is using the app and owning their home. So, and all that is us cutting a check back to the builder for the work they've already done and for the customer they've already acquired.
Awesome. All right, drop the mic. All right. So we've kind of gone through, those high-level phases of the customer journey. And, some of these pieces are live today, operational today. Some are very easy to put in. But again, I think it's more about scripting your experience and the tools that you want to use. So I am going to open it up for questions. I really want you to stump the chump up here and push these guys for some answers. But I have one question. So clearly Travis's app comes with a glass of wine. Derek, right?
I guess maybe we're not as fancy. Look at Travis. We're not as fancy as Travis. Ours probably comes with a glass of beer. Ours comes with a glass of beer.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me make a note on that. Okay. All right. We're done. All right. Well, I would love to open it up to our audience for some questions. So let me repeat the question, and then I'll just throw it up for anyone. I think your question is it a series of apps or is it a portal? How do these pieces connect together? I think is your question.
Yeah.
Right.
I can start, and then you guys can add. So basically, it is intended to be a one seamless experience for the consumer. So everything is branded for the builder, and so they don't know what tools you're using at all. And so, and the intent is to be continuous too. So whatever experience you're having on the website, you can have on your app. And then when you go into the office, if you're using a CRM, then the sales team knows what you've been doing on each of those different platforms. So your live experience just continues what you're doing on the app and on the website and in person.
Yeah, I'd agree, and I think that's really what our goal is to be the platform, foundation, pun intended, to help facilitate that, right? And I think the experience looks different for different builders, different buyers, different companies, but I think what you're seeing up here with this group is these integrations are here today, and then they're gonna just continue to become tighter and tighter over time to give that customer the best experience they can have, and the experience that actually customers are demanding today, right? So I think that's the goal of this panel. We're all aligned on that vision, and we're there today, and I think that's only gonna keep getting better over time.
Well, and what I think is so neat about what we've been doing is with the furniture too, because that always seems like it's such an extra for a builder, but if you can really work it in with those QR codes in the model, and then as part of the online design center, then it's not another additional headache for either you or the buyer. It's part of the whole experience of buying the home, or not buying the home, just buying the furniture, right? And the builder gets some of that benefit. It makes it much easier for you to offer it and to benefit from it as well.
Yeah. I mean, you can't defend it for me. So.
And I think just to add, it's a great question, right? I think there's kind of like ideal state, and then there's maybe real world state. I think one way to think about this is like a company like Wayfair. Obviously, I'd love to sit up here and talk my own book, but Wayfair spent a ton of money in like UX, CX, right? And so their website is built for that specific purpose. And so I don't want to sit up here and pretend that, oh, shopping in an iframe on foundation is the best customer experience. If that's not the case, and I think we all agree with that, if that's not the case, they should go to the right place to have the best customer experience. And I won't speak for anyone else up here, but we're not a furniture retailer that does the amount of volume that Wayfair does. So I think they're well positioned to be the experts in something like that example.
You nailed it. I think it's a one app, one site experience.
Correct.
And we think of technology in the way we build a home or the way we process anything. It's very linear, where we have to start thinking about things vertically and doing more in a 24-hour cycle. So we have to be very thoughtful on the on and off ramps as they go from one experience to the other, and making that look almost exactly the same. Where the only way they know they went from Monica to me is disclosure. But it still is, it's my world that they're living in, but they had no idea they went from her side of the island to my side, and then over to Wayfair. Obviously, Wayfair is, going to look a little different, but making sure it's private labeled and being very thoughtful in those on-off ramps, but thinking vertically. Do more in a day than you can in 3 or 4 days.
And then just real quick but to add to kind of what you were saying, is you were saying that in what you described, the owner wasn't downloading the app until they owned the home and their move in. But the way that foundation, and we were painting the picture up here, is actually when they buy the house and they get to the design center, once the contract is signed, that's when they are engaging with the app. So they've been engaging with the app as through the whole construction cycle, and it's the same app. When you close on the home, then that then becomes the ownership experience. So it's not like they're learning a new app. They're having the same experience through that gateway.
All right, well, I'm going to throw you guys be thinking of some questions, all right? So, but while we're doing that, I mean, technology moves so fast, right? Like, it's constantly evolving. And sometimes we think, okay, well, we're just going to pause and we'll go get our stuff figured out. And if technology could just hold still for a minute while I figure out my strategy, that would be great, but that's not the reality, right? So I'm going to just test our panel here. What do you think we'll be talking about as far as this experience if you fast forward like a year? So let's say we come back to this conference next year, what's the next thing that we're going to be talking about? Because I want people to be cognizant of, you don't have the luxury of kind of sitting still, right? Because you got to get to this point, and then there'll be some other things you have to think about. But just throwing it out there, what do we need to be thinking about? What might we be talking about next year?
I think in the next year, and I meant to say the other night in the first session, but the resistance to change is really serious. And we talked about change leadership the other day, and a lot of people just say it's a resistance to change, where employees or processes that you may have is not pushing the button this way or that way, it's the fear of loss. That's why people are resistant to change. And that's good and bad news for us, right? So a lot of the technology that we're talking about already exists, and honestly, some of it's way more advanced than what we're even talking about today. But because there's such a slow adoption curve, that's good news for this room because it gives us time to start thinking about it. So I think from a year from now, I don't think we're going to be fully there to maybe it's a full experience, but I think there's going to be a few early adopters that are going to start going in that direction. These are big projects, and we all have project teams that will help you see this vision to reality without your team putting a lot of effort into it. But I think it's 2 or 3 years is where it starts to get really interesting. I think that there's facial recognition and blockchain that will make some of these transactions almost like the same level of effort if you buying a cup of coffee at Starbucks and swiping a card and then you're out. It is literally that is starting to become a reality, and it's quite interesting, especially in the AI space. I don't think anybody really knew that just a few years ago you could literally go to ChatGPT and write one of the most impressive contracts in literally 2.3 seconds that you could probably not get from anyone's a lawyer, that might take weeks to draft. It's amazing what some of the very objective things that we do and skill sets that we have learned, how fast technology is augmenting some of those tasks. Well, that leaves us as the human race for the subjective, the more soft skill, relationship type oriented things. And so back to my challenge, if you leave here, if there's one thing I recommend that you think about is think about your technology as part of your employee base. It's a part of your staff. Don't look at it just purely as a piece of equipment or software. And I think you start to think about it a little bit differently in how it interacts with consumers.
Yeah. Well said. Well said.
Yeah, and I love that you say that too, because like with the digital design center and those kinds of experiences, it's not like we're trying to replace the human aspect. You need a human there to, sell the home and to build that relationship and things like that. And technology can really just be an assistant for that, to help improve the experience. But you do need the people too. So.
Right.
Yeah. Do you mind if I just? I think Travis and Monica nailed it. I think one of the things, just as I'm sitting here thinking about like a year from now, like the question you asked is. I think Travis alluded to this as customer experience, I think in a year from now is not going to be viewed as a cost center, right? I think that is historically how the industry has viewed it, and probably rightfully so. So I think that is changing, that feeling is changing, and builders are coming around to this idea that, hey, I've acquired this customer, I paid a lot of money, if I can make my team more efficient, if I can turn it into a monetization kind of step, all of these types of things are coming. So I think that's one piece, I think well said. I think the other piece in a year from now that is probably going to be different based on everything I've seen and working with the folks up here is, I think in a year from now, builders might start asking things like, why did we used to build things ourselves? And I think that's something that we run across more and more nowadays and I actually give the industry a ton of credit. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, there weren't all these options. Monica and ECI might have been here, but it wasn't to the level it is today. And then there weren't all these other options sitting up here on the panel today. And builders had to build technology themselves. I think with the focus on the space, that is changing. I think there are kind of mission-focused companies coming in to help builders and take that work off of your plate. So you don't have to build these things yourself. You can go do what you do best, which is go build and sell homes and let the technology folks do the technology, because I'll say you don't want me swinging a hammer. So I'll let you guys handle that, and I think that'll be something that shifts over the next year.
Is that a threat? That if you, we need to use foundation so that you're busy and, okay, good.
Yeah, so I don't have to go work for a builder and swing a hammer. Nobody wants that.
Yeah, nobody wants that. No, really, really thought-provoking. So my other question is, and I have my own opinion, but is this solution for big national builders? Is this for custom builders? Is this for regional? Like, kind of what are your thoughts in terms of what builder is this for?
I would think, any builder can really do parts and pieces of this, and it kind of depends on what your goals are and what your customers want, right? And then you're trying to meet your customer where they are. But I do think that builders need to come along with their technology, and especially on the sales and marketing side. The other aspect of it is you need the data to be able to understand what you're selling and how you're making money and who to target, right? So if you can use these tech systems and then also leverage the data that you get out of there, that's much better. But I believe that any builder, national, small custom, should be using some form of technology to make their job easier and to make their homes more appealing. I mean, this is one of the largest investments that people are going to make in their lives, right? And we're not helping them have a technology experience like where they can buy stuff on Amazon. Why can't they can buy a car from Carvana and Tesla, but they can't buy a home, you know? They can't buy your home or see what you're offering online. I think that needs to change.
Yeah, I think to add to that, we spend a lot of time thinking about how we can give builders an edge, you know, with forward commitments and buying down rates and widening the buyer pool. I think that for the, small, mid-sized builders, giving the builder an edge in being able to buy a home. Think about somebody relocating from California to North Carolina. Traditional experience, about to fly to North Carolina, visit all the different communities. If you can create an experience where you can capture that buyer intelligently from many states away before they actually get on the plane and get into your communities, I think that gives you an edge from making that buyer pool much larger than just who's in their car and walking your communities. This gives you the entire United States is now your buyer pool. So you might capture that one person considering moving to your area.
Yeah. Well, and I think what's exciting is that because there are these tools and these apps that are being developed for you, platforms, any builder can do that. Any builder can afford it. Any builder can do it. And I love that technology is an enabler in a way. And I love working with large national builders, and I love working with small builders. Okay, the smaller guys are a little more fun. They're a little more nimble and quick making decisions. Nothing against you big guys, but it's just, it's harder. So you have this advantage of these amazing tools and technology that it is affordable and it is doable, and it's kind of leveled that out in a way. So I think it can be this huge differentiator. And I think the last thought, and I kind of hit this a few times this week, as we hire younger and younger employees and we bring in Gen Zers, they're going to look at the crap that we have, the lack of tools. We don't have apps. Even your internal tools and things we do with our customers, and they're going to go yuck, right? So we've got to be able to attract younger and younger employees, and they're going to have expectations along with our buyers as well. So we kind of have to up our game for our customers, but also for ourselves as well. So anyway, so that's kind of my little shtick. So we have a couple minutes, just a speed round. What's your closing thought? We'll start with you, Derek. What's your one closing thought you'd like to share with the group?
Yeah, I'm just excited about the pace of innovation and the interest in the industry. And I think we welcome, what you're seeing up here is kind of a locking of arms around, we welcome all technology and advancement. It's good for the industry, it's good for builders, and it's good for customers. And that's what excites me a lot about, I think, what's to come in the industry.
Great.
I think that the tying in the furniture this early in the process, tying it, because we know that builders or that home buyers are thinking about that, and it's not something that that's ever been part of the discussion before the home is actually sold, is a really, it just turns the focus to what's important to the customer. And I love that there's technology and ways to do that now through apps, through AI design, that will allow that to happen.
Great comments. Tough to beat, but I think you just got to think big picture. Just keep looking out ahead to what's your 2-year, 5-year, 10-year plan, and it is moving much faster than you think it is. It really is, and make that funnel, make that your potential customer funnel as large as possible, and maybe even a lot of builders bake in their margin, concessions to bring local buyers into their showroom to buy the home. This can be a part of that budget, right? This is customer acquisition. How do I attract people in California to buy in North Carolina or vice versa? Just, again, thinking big and trying to meet them in all places and keep that funnel fully loaded.
Awesome. Yeah, and what I want to just add is I think this can be overwhelming, and we painted a picture of this huge system, and it's awesome to have the huge system, but you don't have to have it all, right? You can just get started with one thing. And even with that thing, you can step into it. But my point is that if you're not doing something along the lines of technology right now, and you're not challenging yourself and your team to continue to look at these new things, you're way behind already. And so you need to continue to do that. And so you don't have to take off this whole bite right now, but do start looking into what is it that I can do, what can my company tolerate at this moment, and then continue to challenge your people to keep looking at things and moving forward.
Perfect. All right. Well, I want to thank our panelists for pulling this together and leading the charge in terms of creating this seamless journey. So I want to thank everyone for coming to this conference, for spending a good chunk of your time with us in this room. We really appreciate everyone and the interaction that we've had outside of this. So it's really been an amazing experience. And then I wish everyone very safe and happy travels. Thanks so much. Take care.